Today we're going to take a look at the Husqvarna T525 top-handled Arborist chainsaw. This saw fits right into Husqvarna's top-handled chainsaw lineup between the T435 and the T540XP. The purpose for adding the T525 to the Husqvarna top-handled chainsaw lineup was to give arborists a more maneuverable, lighter weight, and better balanced option than the T435 and the T540XP. Let's get right into the features of the Husqvarna T525. You can see here this blue lever, that is to actuate your choke. Right under that, you have your purge bulb, and then right next to those two, you have the handle for your starter rope. This all makes starting the T525 very easy because everything is so close together. So you don't have to flip and roll this all around to turn the choke on, to purge the fuel lines or anything like that. It's all right there, which is really handy when you're up in a tree or in a tight space, that you don't have to go maneuvering this saw all around just to be able to get the restart. The T525 has two mounting points for all you climbers out there, and requires no tools to remove the cover to check your air filter. You can remove the air filter by simply pulling on the loop on the bottom of the air filter. Over here, this black part, this is where your intake air comes into the air filter chamber. This chainsaw uses an air injection style, filtering the big chips out before the air gets to your air filter chamber, which helps prolong the life of your air filter. The main body of the muffler is on the bottom of the chainsaw, but as you can see here, the exhaust exits out of the back right corner of the saw. And behind there, you can also see your spark plug in there. This whole cover removes for easy access to the spark plug and to clean out your muffler screen. Here you can see that the T525 clutch cover is held on by a single captured bar nut, and directly in front of it is your tensioning mechanism for your bar and chain. The chain catch on the T525 is made out of aluminum, and you can see here that they use an outboard style clutch on the T525. The reason for this is because it allows the bar to be moved closer to the center of the saw, which helps improve the balance of the saw. The T525 uses an adjustable automatic bar oiling system, and the adjustments are made from the top of the saw. The ignition kill switch, throttle, and throttle lockout are all conveniently located together, so it's easy to operate all of them with one hand. The ignition stop switch returns automatically back to the run position after it is pushed to kill the ignition. This prevents pulling the rope over and over again with the ignition switch in the off position and flooding the engine out. Looking here at the bottom of the T525, you can easily see the two mounting bolts for the muffler. You see the runners here on the bottom of the saw to help when you're sliding the saw down the side of a tree to lower it to the ground. And you'll notice that the front handle, there is a coil spring there between the actual body of the saw and that handle. That is part of the anti-vibration system. Here's a look at a T525 next to a T540XP. You can see that the T540XP is much larger. Obviously, it's much heavier. It does have more power, but again, it's a bigger saw. One thing that really sticks out here is the fuel tank is right on top of the bar oil tank on the T525, where the bar oil tank is at the front and the fuel tank is at the back of the T540XP. The T540XP has a fuel sight window and obviously a larger tank because it has a larger engine. Flip it around here to the other side, you can see that the T540XP has a much larger clutch cover, but still only uses a single captured bar nut like the T525. And obviously the reason for the larger clutch cover on the T540XP is because it has a larger clutch inside there. So you can see here that obviously the T540XP is a bit wider than the T525, but the big thing to take note of is you need a screwdriver or some kind of tool to open up the air filter box on the T540XP, where you need no tools at all on the T525. Now both of these saws are labeled as having X-torq engines. But when you look at this, you kind of start to question that T525. The T540XP has the 2-valve style carburetor like you find on almost all the Husqvarna engines with X-torq. The T525 does not. And I questioned this, and it turns out that the T525 has the split style intake in it, like the non-stratified 372XP X-torq engine. So here's a look at the front of the two saws. Obviously the T525, because it's lighter in weight, is going to have the composite crankcase, and the T540XP has the magnesium crankcase. A lot of similarities here on the saws when you look at the bottom of them. They're both pretty streamlined with the runners for sliding them down a tree, muffler mounted on the bottom, and both of them have the AntiVibe spring mounted directly in between the front handle and the body of the saw. So how about the T525 compared to the T435? As you can see here, the T435 is a larger saw than the T525. The T435 has the choke lever and the purge bulb on the opposite side of the saw as the starter handle, and does not use a captured style bar nut. So those are some of the obvious differences between the T435 and the T525. Here's a look at some of the features and specs for all three of the saws. Now when you're looking at this chart here, remember, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, the whole purpose of the T525 was to create a lightweight, very maneuverable, well-balanced, top-handled Arborist chainsaw. In order to do that, you have to make some sacrifices in place, especially when you're trying to keep the weight down. That's a big one. So you can see here, it's only about a half a horsepower difference between the T435 and the T525. But it's a very big difference in weight between the T525 and the T540XP, even between the T525 and the T435. Now, if you're wondering what that asterisk is for there next to weight, that is because this is the weight of the actual chainsaw power head without the bar and chain. Now here's a look at some more important features and which saw has which. And then when you get down to the bottom, obviously a big important part of purchasing a chainsaw is always the price. But now remember, this is the starting price on these saws. So the T435 goes up in price from that $339.99, depending on which bar and chain combination you want to get with your T435 power head. Same way with the T540XP. It goes up in price from that $579.99. But the T525, that $499.99 is the current price, and that is pretty much it, because as of right now, they only offer it with that 12-inch bar and chain combination. So that's it there. The T540XP, you can get really expensive on one of them if you order one in with the 16-inch bar. Same way with the T435, it's going to jump up in price a decent amount if you get one with the 16-inch bar rather than the 12-inch bar. Now, while we're talking price on these saws, this is a good time to remind any of you that know about this and to bring it to the attention of anybody that doesn't know about it. Make sure to ask your dealer about the Husqvarna Arborist Fleet Program. That's your opportunity to save some money on all these top-handled saws, several other models of Husqvarna chainsaws, and a couple blowers. So if you're already going in and you're looking to buy a professional rear handle saw like a 562XP, 572XP, 395XP, 550XP, any of those saws, they got a whole list of them. Just ask your dealer about it. You buy the rear handled saw, the pro saw that you're after, you pick up a leaf blower that's on the list, and then you can purchase one of these T525s and get everything at a discounted price. And now you just got your tree climber, a nice lightweight, maneuverable, top-handled saw that he's going to be able to use for several hours a day without getting as worn out as he would if he was taking that T435 up in a tree or up in a bucket with him. So that was our look at the Husqvarna T525 top-handled Arborist chainsaw. If you didn't know this saw existed, now you do, and you know a little bit more about it. So get on out to your local Husqvarna dealer and check one out. And as always, if you haven't done so already, please be sure to subscribe to our channel, and thanks for watching.